Number 10. Met Gala broken nose claim. Amber Heard appeared to change her story when being questioned about the 2014 Met Gala incident, where she claimed to have a broken nose. The actor's lawyers caught her in yet another lie by presenting photos of her looking uninjured the next day. Heard was cross-examined by Depp's lawyer Camille Vasquez, who grilled the actress about looking fresh-faced at an event after she alleged that Depp hit her in the face, leading her to believe her nose was broken. The court was shown how the next night, she was photographed at an event with Depp to honor the comedian Don Rickles, with absolutely no signs of injury to her nose. It was then that she decided to backpedal, telling the court, quote, "For the record, I don't know that it was broken. You should see what it looked like under the makeup." By going back and forth like this, it made her seem as though she was unable to get her story straight. Number 9. Kate Moss's 3-minute testimony. British model Kate Moss, who dated Depp between 1994 and 1998, testified that he never pushed her down a flight of stairs. This was important because it directly contradicted Heard's testimony earlier in the trial when she referred to an unverified rumor that Depp once pushed Moss down the stairs. Moss crushed those rumors by testifying to what really happened while the two were staying at a resort in Jamaica, stating that she in fact slipped down the stairs and screamed because she didn't know what was happening to her. It was then that Depp carried her to her room and got her medical attention. Live streaming. Now, Depp didn't just win the trial because he was credible, but also because he was likable and insanely popular. The Hollywood actor has both charisma and undeniable star power, which speaks for itself, and his defense team knew that. The Pirates of the Caribbean star has a sea of dedicated fans around the globe who've seen him grow up on screen ever since his first major acting role in 1986's Nightmare on Elm Street. The trial was followed online by millions of people tuning into live streams, many of them generating memes in real life throughout the proceedings. Praise and support for Depp can be seen all around the internet, while Heard, on the other hand, has received vast amounts of ridicule. In fact, fans of Depp queued for hours daily to secure coveted seats in the public gallery for the trial held in Fairfax, Virginia. Depp's fans also waged a massive campaign on social media in support of the actor, with the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp. Number 7. The James Franco elevator video. While Heard was on the stand, Depp's lawyers brought up a late-night visit by Franco to Heard's apartment in May 2016, which depicted the two getting physically close. When asked about the reason he came to her apartment that night, she said, quote, "Because he was my friend, and he lived next door," quite literally next door. When Depp's lawyers asked her to explain footage that shows Franco laying his head on her shoulder, Heard vehemently denied any implications of infidelity. The footage was significant because Heard previously testified that Depp kicked her to the floor of a private plane after he accused her of cheating on him with Franco while filming the Adderall Diaries earlier that year. While the footage is somewhat ambiguous, it definitely led the jury to question the nature of Heard's relationship with Franco. Number 6. Dr. Shannon Curry's evaluation. The clinical psychologist who evaluated Heard for 12 hours on 2 separate days in December said that she was, quote, "grossly exaggerating symptoms of PTSD. Dr. Shannon Curry's testimony was the nail in the coffin for Heard's crumbling defense. The forensic clinical psychologist said that Heard did not have PTSD and was merely exaggerating symptoms. Instead, Curry concluded that Heard had a very sophisticated way of minimizing any personal problems, and that her evaluation supported 2 possible diagnoses: borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. So not at all what Heard claimed to have. Number 5. The infamous bruise kit. Throughout the trial, Heard's choice of makeup has been a major talking point across social media. Her cross-examination began with her recollection of several instances before and after her divorce from Depp, and her use of makeup to cover bruises. Vasquez questioned Heard about instances when Heard testified Depp whacked her in the face while wearing very large rings on his fingers. But these photos shown to the jury pointed out the lack of bruises on Heard's face. She came prepared with an explanation saying, quote, "If you want to cover a bruise, you obviously put foundation first, concealer, and then on top of that, I like to use a bruise kit." And then realizing what she said, she quickly corrected herself, saying, quote, "Not a bruise kit, it's a theater makeup kit," but it was too late. The slip-up sparked conversation among TikTok users, a number of whom suggested that bruise kits are usually used to apply the appearance of bruises for theoretical purposes, rather than cover them up. Number 4. Christy Dombrowski's testimony. Depp's sister testified that the actor swore to never repeat domestic violence after their mother was physically aggressive towards them. Christy Dombrowski, Depp's older sister by 3 years, was the first witness to testify in the defamation defamation trial. When she took to the stand, she spoke about their experience as children, growing up with their mother, whom she described as, quote, high-strung, nervous, and often angry. When speaking of the difficulties that she and Depp experienced growing up, she said that as they got older, they decided that they were never going to repeat anything similar to their childhood in their own home. Number 3. Johnny Depp takes the stand. Depp returned to the stand during the 6th and final week of his defamation trial to refute Heard's testimony that he attacked her during their honeymoon in 2015. Following Heard's claim that Depp slammed her against the wall and threatened to kill her, Depp told the court that it was actually her who attacked him and gave him a black eye. His defense then produced photos of the former couple with waitstaff that showed Depp with an injured eye. He went on to call Heard's testimony unimaginably brutal, cruel, and false, while adding, quote, no matter what happens, I did tell the truth, and I've spoken up for what I've been carrying on my back reluctantly for 6 years. Number 2. Depp's closing argument. Depp, who said he waited 6 years to tell his story, spent 4 days on the stand defending himself against Heard's allegation, which he called, quote, heinous and disturbing. He told the court that the actress's accusations were not based in any species of truth, and that he just wants to clear his name. Depp claimed that Heard would verbally decimate him or send him into a tailspin or depression and attack him by slapping him, often shoving him, throwing remotes at his head, or throwing wine in his face. He said that in frustration, rage, and anger, she would strike out. Depp testified that he never physically abused Heard or any other woman. He maintained that Heard was the instigator in the relationship, who would constantly push him to become embroiled in profane arguments. While on the stand, Depp's testimony was heartfelt, and he managed to be more likable while defending himself. And number 1, the explosive revelation from TMZ. The testimony from former journalist Morgan Tremaine established that the celebrity news publication had been able to publish exclusive photos and videos of Heard during the early stages of her contentious divorce from Depp, based on tips it had received about her whereabouts. In this case, Tremaine testified about a TMZ exclusive video from 2016, when she filed for a temporary restraining order against Depp. Tremaine said he dispatched paparazzi to stay outside the Los Angeles courthouse, based on an anonymous tip to capture photos of her. This revelation was indeed significant, as Heard had previously testified that she was caught off guard by the presence of the photographers, again catching her in a web of her own lies. Number 10. Amber Heard's ex-assistant speaks out. Kate James, who worked as Amber Heard's personal assistant for 3 years between 2012 and 2015, testified via video that in a recorded deposition, Amber Heard screamed at her when she tried to negotiate her salary of $50,000 per year, which is half of what she would normally make as a full-time celebrity personal assistant. She alleged that Heard screamed at her when she asked for a higher salary. James said that Heard also regularly yelled at her over the phone, often in the early morning between 2 to 4 a.m. Goes to show you that talking down to your assistants often comes back to bite you. Number 9. Caught editing photos. Heard's team produced multiple examples of photographic evidence of bruises to her face and body that they claim were caused by Depp. One set of photos in particular caught everyone's attention, including Depp's defense team, who claimed that Heard had edited the picture to make her injuries seem worse. When cross-examined, she claimed that they were 2 separate photos, one with the light on and one without. But in the final week of testimony, Depp's team called her out on it. They brought a metadata expert to the stand to weigh in. Norbert Brian Neumeister concluded that the photos don't match forensically, and that they all had to go through some type of transformation to change sizes. It turns out that some of the photos were professionally edited with separate software not found on an iPhone. Goes to show you, it was also the small details that made the jury question Heard's credibility. Number 8. Pirates of the Caribbean 6. It was revealed during the trial that Depp missed out on a $22.5 million payday as a direct result of the op-ed written by Heard. Depp's manager, Jack Wiggum, testified that the allegations made by Heard proved to be catastrophic for Depp's career, even though he was never actually named in the article. While testifying remotely, he said that Disney's president of production, Sean Bailey, and Pirates of the Caribbean producer Jerry Bruckheimer verbally sealed a deal around 2016 to pay Depp a whopping $22.5 million for the 6th film in the franchise. However, Wiggum was never able to revive the deal following the controversy surrounding the allegations. Number 8. Dr. David Kipper's testimony. Depp Depp's private doctor described what really happened on the night the actor's finger was severed, corroborating Depp's version of events. Turns out the doctor was staying on an island in Australia on March 7th of 2015 when Depp sent Dr. Kipper a text at night saying that his finger had been severed. The doctor arrived on the scene, treated the wound, and took him to the emergency room. Depp then texted him several days later, blaming himself for the incident. He later admitted in court that he initially lied to protect Heard, saying, quote, "I didn't want to get her in trouble." So while Depp admitted that at first he lied to Dr. Kipper, it only served to make him more likable. Number 6. The mystery poop. Perhaps one of the most bizarre moments in the trial, Depp accused Heard of defecating in the bed that they shared after a fight on her birthday in 2016. A photo of the alleged incident was shared in court, sparking a Saturday Night Live sketch and fueling the hashtag #AmberTurd. Heard denied defecating in the bed, saying that the couple's Yorkshire Terrier, Boo, who had bowel control problems, was the real issue, as their dog would often burrow in the bed, sometimes having accidents. Heard said that the dog was on the bed while she was packing, so a bathroom accident could have been overlooked when she and her friend left. When her lawyer, Elaine Gredhoft, asked if her and her friends tried to pull a prank on Depp, she said absolutely not, even adding, quote, "That's not something a bunch of 30-year-old women would think is funny." Unfortunately, Heard's version of events here just didn't sound believable. Number 4. The severed finger. Number 4. The severed finger. Depp said that his finger was severed during a fight with Amber Heard about a month after their 2015 wedding, when she flew out to Australia to visit him while filming Pirates of the Caribbean 6. Depp said Heard arrived in Australia feeling very upset about how the meeting with Depp's lawyers had been conducted, feeling that one of the lawyers she met had been, quote, "rude and dismissive." Later that same day, she started banging on doors, screaming obscenities, and wanting to have a physical altercation. At that point, Heard followed him to the bar and started yelling at him for drinking and proceeded to throw a bottle of vodka at him. Depp said that the bottle flew past his face and smashed on the ground behind him. He said that Heard then picked up a second bottle and threw it at him. At that time, it made contact with his hand, slicing off his middle right finger. Depp then described in gruesome detail how his finger looked after it was severed, which was enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Number 3. The audio recording. Depp's attorney, Camille Vasquez, set the tone from the jump as she attempted to frame Heard as a physically aggressive party in the marriage, playing numerous recordings that appeared to demonstrate Heard taunting Depp's age and career. The audio recordings played during Johnny Depp's testimony showed Heard admitting to starting a physical fight between them and downplaying his reaction to the incident. They were discussing their explosive March 2015 Australia fight that resulted in Depp's right middle finger being severed at the tip. In the audio, Depp is heard saying he wants to remove himself from the situation to de-escalate and escape the fighting, while Heard was urging him to stop running away so that they can resolve their dispute. In what was basically a confession, she said, quote, "I'm sorry, I hit you like this, but I didn't punch you." She also told him to grow up and called him a baby. The recording was damning evidence which got the jury to reconsider that it might have been Heard who was the abusive one in the relationship. Number 1. Admitting to the op-ed. During Amber Heard's cross-questioning by Vasquez, the actress admitted to having written the 2018 op-ed about the Pirates of the Caribbean star. While being on the stand, Heard, who previously stated that the op-ed was not about Depp, admitted that she wrote it as a way to prove people supported him against all odds. Heard made it clear that she was extremely upset with just how many people stood up for Depp despite the allegations. Pursuing a round of heated cross-questioning, Vasquez asked Heard whether she expected so many people to testify on behalf of Depp, asking her if she expected witnesses like Depp's former partner Kate Moss to speak in favor of Depp and refute Heard's prior claims. The Aquaman star then fired back, saying, quote, "I know how many people will come out and say whatever for him. That's his power. That's why I wrote the op-ed." And just like that, Depp's team scored a major point. Number 5. The private jet incident. When Johnny Depp's friend and sound engineer Keenan Wyatt appeared in court, he narrated an incident when Heard yelled at him during a private flight. He also mentioned that he had never seen Depp attack anybody and spoke about a time he joined the former couple on a private jet flight from Boston to Los Angeles in May of 2014. It was then that he noticed Heard was giving Depp the cold shoulder, and at one point he tried to comfort her by telling her that Depp cares about about her, which resulted in her yelling at him, saying, quote, "How dare you talk to me," and screaming at him to get away from her. It's safe to say this incident helped the jury make out her character pretty well. Number 2, the ACLU speaks out. Terence Doherty, the general counsel and chief operating officer of the ACLU, said in a recorded deposition that Heard only donated $1.3 million of the $3.5 million she pledged to the organization from her divorce settlement. When Depp and Heard reached a divorce settlement in 2016, the actress announced that she would donate the entirety of her $7 million divorce settlement to charity, saying that the money would be split between the two organizations, the American Civil Liberties Union and Children's Hospital Los Angeles, which meant the ACLU should have received $3.5 million. But Mr. Doherty came with the receipts, claiming that the organization received 4 donations from Heard, which totaled $1.3 million, and only one of those payments was from Heard directly. This revelation definitely affected her credibility as a witness from that point on.
One of the more shocking recent moments from the trial was when Amber Heard took the stand and mentioned Kate Moss, giving Depp's team the opportunity to call Moss to the stand as a witness. So who is Kate Moss? She is a British supermodel who dated Johnny Depp from 1994 to 1997. Amber mentioned her in her testimony when talking about a situation between Johnny and her sister, alleging that Depp had pushed Kate Moss down the stairs while on a vacation in Jamaica. This was also when she admitted in testimony to having become physical with Depp for the first time, saying it was in an attempt to defend her sister. She did this to further try and paint Depp as the villain of the story, but this decision would prove to be a mistake as Kate Moss took the stand as a witness. Kate connected to the trial by video, being in Gloucestershire, England. As Johnny Depp's lawyer prepared to ask her questions, viewers around the world held their breath, waiting to see what new information this might reveal, and whether or not there was any truth to the story of the stairs. Kate Moss appeared well-dressed and professional in a white shirt and dark blazer, sitting up straight, clearly taking her role as witness very seriously. Depp's lawyer wasted no time in getting right to the point, first having Moss confirm her past romantic relationship with Depp. He then moves right into the trip to Jamaica, asking Kate for her explanation of just what had happened there. Knowing exactly which situation they were referring to, Kate got straight to the point. She explains how they were exiting their room. Apparently it had just been a rainstorm, so when Moss stepped outside the door to their room, she slipped on the wet ground, falling down the stairs. She states that she hurt her back and had let out a scream because she had been so shocked and confused about the fall which had happened so fast. She goes on to say that Depp immediately came running back to help her, even picking her up and carrying her to her room and going to get her medical attention. This explanation of events clearly paints Johnny in a very positive light as an attentive boyfriend and not someone who would ever purposefully push anyone down a set of stairs. When Depp's lawyer asked Kate if Johnny had pushed her, she replied with a simple and confident no, leaving no room for speculation or questioning. He then asks if Depp had ever pushed her down any set of stairs in different locations or situations. She says, "No, he never pushed me, kicked me, or threw me down any stairs." There seems to be no way to question the truth of that. She even seems to laugh at the end of her statement, perhaps being amused at the very suggestion that Johnny would ever do anything like that. And with that, the questioning ended after just 3 minutes, Amber's side not choosing to cross-examine her, maybe realizing just how much they had backed themselves into a corner in just a few minutes. As if she didn't, Moss likely never would have been on the stand to tell the truth about what happened between her and Johnny Depp. These quick statements may be enough to convince many viewers and potentially even the jury of the reality of Johnny's character, not as the villain of this story, but instead the victim. Kate Moss's confident and straightforward answers seem to paint a clear picture that she's quite certain of. It feels as though there is no way to question that what she said was true, based on her candid delivery and calm, collected responses. So what does this mean for the trial? Well, it is a clear step in the right direction for Depp's team, as a previous romantic partner stating that Johnny had never been abusive and had apparently been very attentive and caring is very strong evidence towards Johnny's side. It also throws more speculation towards Amber's testimonies and opinions, as she attempted to use a false scenario to justify her fear towards Johnny and try to make others view him negatively. Public opinion seems to lean strongly towards Johnny, as many attentive watchers have accused Amber of lying and manipulation, both in her relationship with Depp and throughout the trial. It seems as though Amber realizes how deep the hole is that she's digging for herself. Throughout her testimony and the entirety of the trial, she continues to try harder and harder to win the sympathy of both the jury and the audience. She often turns her head to look directly at the jury when answering questions, even wearing hairstyles that obscure the side of her face not directed towards them. She knows that the jury are the people she has to convince, so most viewers say she seems to be desperately trying to put on a show, whether it be fake tears, rehearsed body language, or unnecessary and rambling answers. Her actions only go further to convince people on social media that she is continuing to lie and manipulate those around her. Even more bizarre moments of Amber's have been pointed out throughout the duration of the trial, like backtracking and changing her answers, copying Depp's clothes, and seeming to quickly change emotions when she thinks the cameras aren't watching her anymore. All of this evidence seems to be stacking up to point accusing fingers at her and her actions, and the Kate Moss testimony seems to have been the icing on the cake. Though happening very recently, people have already swarmed to social media to discuss Kate Moss's statements and make angry comments about Amber Heard. People have tweeted calling her a liar, saying it's impossible anyone could still continue to believe Amber after this, and much more. Heard's lawyers have been hard-pressed to find a way to push the favor towards their side, but are struggling to do so in light of the facts and evidence that have been presented. As it stands, it seems that things are only going to continue to sway in the direction of Depp being the true victim of this relationship. But we can only wait and see as things develop, as you never know what might come to light next.